Hello, welcome to the Dial Outdoor Production. Today we're going to be talking about what to do with some rockfish to make some lunch meat for the week. I like to dehydrate it. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So I freeze mine with the skins on. Helps keep it a little nicer in the freezer. It's one less thing to do when the boat comes home. So first thing you got to do is take the skins off. So I start by, same way I do it with a fresh fillet. Take a knife, cut down in there. So you can get a little tag in the skin with your finger. Get that blade in there. Then I always pull it to the edge of the cutting board. And I'm working the fish back and forth, keeping my knife angled down. And just pulling that skin right off. Throw that in your scrap bucket. Then we're going to take the fillet, cut it into a few pieces. I like to start following the natural structure along these lines here, and then I'll cut it smaller if need be. So we start doing strips. Get about 3 per fillet. Then I'm going to go a long ways again. This one here, I'm going to go a long ways again. I'm going to cut this one in half. It's a little large. This one here, we're just going to cut in half. Alright, that goes into the marinade bin. I'll get back to you with more once I got them all cut and prepped. Then we'll get into the seasoning and how long to let them sit for. Alrighty, now that all your rockfish is cut up and cleaned, here you go. Just to give an example, in here, this is about 8 or 9 rockfish. Whole rockfish, so 2 fillets, so about 16 to 18 fillets. Now it's time to season it. I like to keep it simple. Do a little bit of salt, pepper, red pepper, some honey for some sweetness, and then I do a little bit of a mix of teriyaki, oyster sauce, and soy sauce. So first I start with my dry seasonings, and I'm going to add salt. And a lot of this is to taste, by the way. So I'm not going to tell you how much salt to add. I do probably about 2 or 3 tablespoons of salt. Mix it up. The reason why I'm doing the salt too is because it helps pull the moisture out of the fish. It helps with the preservation of the fish. It's also why I'm choosing some really salty ingredients. Next we're going to go with the black pepper. This one I am going to measure for myself. So, got my tablespoon. Roll 1, 2, 3 heaping tablespoons. Then the crushed red pepper. I'm going to do a little over 1, about 2, 3. Then we're going to give this a mix. Put all these seasonings in and around in here. Alright, and I just take my hands and mix it. Make sure I got pepper everywhere. All my salt should look something like this. Pretty healthily seasoned. You could stop here, start dehydrating. I recommend even more salt then if you're going to do that. Fortunately, rockfish isn't super oily. It's a pretty light, delicate fish, so it doesn't take long for a marinade to set. It really takes about an hour to maybe 3 hours at most. And then you're going to want to dry it. So I'm probably going to give it about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and this will start soaking through, and I'll show you what that looks like. So now I'm going to take the honey. Again, I got this eyeballed, but it's probably about a quarter of a cup of honey. Just to add some sweetness in there. You could use brown sugar. You could use maple syrup. You could use whatever it is that you like. I'm going to take my oyster sauce. I don't like using too much oyster sauce because it's got a very strong edamame flavor. Again, in here, Probably going to do about a quarter cup. Teriyaki, I'm going to use half of this bottle, half of one of these full bottles. I already used half in another recipe I was doing, so I'm going to dump the rest of this out. Soy sauce, I use enough to cover the rest of the fish. I'm just going to start pouring in there until there's liquid around all the fish. And then we're going to mix the ingredients. And then we're going to put some foil on top and let it sit covered in the refrigerator. Take the little fun stopper off of here. Want everything in a bath. That's what I'm doing with this marinade. Mix that all up in here. Kind of see what we're doing. Not rocket science. Just taking a spoon, mixing it up so the honey and the oyster sauce is carried throughout. You could alternatively mix all your liquids together and then dump it in here and then blend it. I find it easier to do it in one bowl, so I have less to clean. Boom, perfect. It's going to start looking pretty dark, pretty quick, and that's kind of the point. See here. It's already starting to take on some of that flavor. I'm going to take my hand, I'm going to push it down in there, and get everything nice and flat. So it's sitting in an even bath of liquid. If you notice that it's floating up or you can't get it covered, add a little bit more soy sauce, and you can take a plate and put it down in here and keep it pressed down into the liquid, which is what we'll be doing next. Take a size plate that fits inside your bowl and just set it down in there and give it a little press just to help keep all the things inside of your seasoning. Throw some foil on this, set it in the fridge. We're going to come back in an hour and a half and dry it, and I'll show you how to dry it, then put it on the dehydrator. After 12 hours at 158 degrees, these are finally done. Going for a nice stiff consistency on the inside. And these bad boys are good to eat. Alright, so now that our fish is done marinating, what I like to do is I come over here and place it on some towels. And I'm just going to take a paper towel. I'm going to pat all the excess moisture off so everything dries nice and easy. You can alternatively put this on racks and let it air dry with a fan. Keep air circulating, or put it on some paper towels on a plate. Put it in the refrigerator overnight. That gets a really nice crust on the top of it. However, this is how we're doing it. This one's a little faster. You just want to be pretty good with it. Just really give everything a nice pat. Doesn't take too long. And then once it's dry, put it on your dehydrator rack. Run your dehydrator. I run mine at like 148 degrees. And it takes anywhere between 6 and 12 hours. So I'm going to run it for a while and check it before I go to bed tonight. Maybe add some more time if need be. And I'll show you the finished product when we're done with it.